The bus lurched to a stop, and Emily froze, her eyes locked with those of the elderly man who had just entered the boardroom. He wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit now, not the worn jacket from yesterday's bus ride, but his eyes were unmistakable, the same gentle, knowing gaze that had thanked her when she'd given up her seat. Her breath caught in her throat as the company president introduced him. "Everyone, please welcome Mr. Parker, our new chief executive officer." The room erupted in applause while Emily remained motionless, her mind racing. How was this possible? The humble old man she'd helped on the bus was now her boss, not just her boss, but the head of the entire company. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her portfolio tighter, wondering if he would recognize her, wondering what this meant for her future. Mr. Parker's eyes scanned the room, and for a brief moment, they settled on Emily. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, followed by the faintest hint of a smile. Her heart pounded in her chest as their gazes held, and in that moment, her world shifted on its axis. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to where it all began. Emily Phillips had perfected the art of invisibility. Each morning, she would board the 7:15 bus to downtown, earbuds in place, eyes cast downward, taking up as little space as possible. She'd worked at Meridian Enterprises for 3 years now, competent but overlooked, her ideas rarely heard above the confident voices of her colleagues. That Tuesday morning had started like any other. The autumn air carried a crisp chill as Emily waited at the bus stop, pulling her navy cardigan tighter around her slender frame. She'd spent the previous night preparing a presentation that she doubted anyone would pay attention to. Her reflection in the bus shelter glass showed a woman with intelligent eyes hidden behind wire-rimmed glasses, her brown hair pulled back in a sensible ponytail. The bus arrived crowded as usual. Emily found a seat near the middle, tucking herself against the window. She was lost in thought, mentally rehearsing her presentation points, when the bus stopped again. Several passengers boarded, including an elderly man with silver hair and a worn tweed jacket. He gripped the handrail tightly, looking around for a seat in the packed vehicle. Emily noticed his slightly unsteady stance as the bus jerked forward. Something inside her stirred, a moment of empathy that broke through her usual reserve. "Sir," she said, her voice softer than intended. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Sir, please take my seat." The man turned, surprised, his eyes crinkling with gratitude. "That's very kind of you, young lady." Emily stood, offering a small smile as she moved to the aisle. As he settled into her seat, he looked up at her. "Thank you. These old knees aren't what they used to be." "It's no problem at all," she replied, gripping the overhead rail as the bus continued its journey. For the briefest moment, their eyes met, and Emily felt seen, truly seen, in a way that rarely happened in her carefully constructed invisible life. The man's eyes held a depth of wisdom and kindness that lingered with her even after she exited the bus and walked the 3 blocks to the Meridian building. The feeling stayed with her as she rode the elevator to the 14th floor, a warm glow of connection that felt foreign yet comforting. She slipped into her cubicle, setting down her bag and powering up her computer. "Morning, Em." Sarah Chen, her colleague from the marketing department, leaned against the cubicle partition. With her bright smile and effortless confidence, Sarah was everything Emily wasn't: outspoken, assertive, visible. "Morning," Emily replied, returning the smile. "Ready for the team meeting? I heard there might be some big announcements today." Emily nodded, though her stomach tightened at the thought. "I've prepared my quarterly analysis." Sarah's expression softened. "You know, you should speak up more. Your reports are always spot on, but nobody hears about them because you barely say a word in meetings." Emily's cheeks warmed. I don't like drawing attention to myself." "Well, maybe it's time to start. I heard rumors about leadership changes coming. Could be opportunities opening up." Emily almost laughed. "For me? I can barely speak up in a team meeting. Don't sell yourself short, Sarah said, tapping the partition before walking away. You're smarter than half the management team combined. As the morning progressed, Emily caught fragments of conversations about the company's future. The CEO was retiring and speculation ran wild about his replacement. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to the old man on the bus. There had been something familiar about him, though she couldn't place it. During her lunch break, she scrolled through news on her phone and paused at a business article featuring prominent figures in the industry. She nearly dropped her sandwich when she spotted a photo that looked remarkably like the man from the bus, identified as industry veteran Edward Parker. But that couldn't be right. Why would someone so important be riding public transportation? The next morning, Emily arrived at work earlier than usual, hoping to finalize her presentation before the all-hands meeting. The office buzzed with anticipation as employees gathered in the large conference room. Emily took a seat in the back, as always preferring to remain unnoticed. Mr. Donovan, the company president, stood at the front of the room, his expression solemn yet excited. As you all know, after 15 years of leadership, Mr. Thompson is retiring as CEO. Today, I'm pleased to introduce his successor, a man whose vision and experience will lead Meridian into a new era of growth. The door opened, and Emily's world tilted on its axis. Walking into the room was the elderly man from the bus, now dressed in an impeccable suit that transformed him from an ordinary passenger to a commanding presence. Please welcome Mr. Edward Parker, our new Chief Executive Officer. The room erupted in applause while Emily sat frozen, her mind struggling to process what was happening. The kind old man she'd given her seat to was now the most powerful person in the company. She felt lightheaded, wondering if he would remember her, if it would matter. As Mr. Parker began speaking about his vision for the company, Emily noticed the same warmth in his voice that had thanked her on the bus. He spoke of innovation and collaboration, of valuing every employee's contribution, regardless of their position. His gaze swept across the room, and for a moment, Emily thought his eyes lingered on her, but she quickly dismissed the notion. After the meeting, the office was abuzz with reactions. "He seems nice enough, but I heard he's ruthless in business," said Mark from accounting, leaning against the break room counter. "Probably here to clean house before selling us off." "My cousin works at Westfield Corp," added Janice from HR. When Parker took over there temporarily, he restructured the entire executive team. Emily listened silently, the warm feeling from her bus encounter fading under the weight of office politics and fear. She returned to her desk, trying to focus on her work while wrestling with conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to believe in Mr. Parker's sincerity, while another part feared the changes his leadership might bring. The following day, Emily's team gathered for their weekly meeting. Her supervisor, Richard, was particularly tense, snapping at minor issues and rushing through agenda items. "The new CEO wants a complete overview of all current projects," he announced. "I need everyone's reports by tomorrow morning." Emily raised her hand hesitantly. "I've already compiled our quarterly data. I could format it for the executive review, if that would help." Richard barely glanced at her. "Just send me what you have. I'll handle the executive presentation." She nodded, shrinking back into her chair as the meeting continued. Afterward, she overheard Richard speaking with another manager in the hallway. "This Parker guy is just a figurehead. Probably got the job through connections. What does an old man know about modern business anyway?" Emily felt a strange sense of protectiveness toward Mr. Parker. The dismissive comments didn't match the person she'd briefly encountered, someone who had shown genuine gratitude for a simple kindness. That evening, as she worked late to finalize her report, Emily noticed Mr. Parker walking through the office. Most employees had already left, and he moved slowly, pausing to look at family photos on desks and notes pinned to cubicle walls. When he reached her area, Emily kept her head down, heart racing. But instead of passing by, he stopped. "Excuse me," he said, his voice exactly as she remembered from the bus. "You're working quite late." Emily looked up, meeting his gaze. "Just finishing some reports, sir." He studied her face, and recognition dawned in his eyes. The kind young lady from the bus. Heat rushed to her cheeks. "You remember." "Of course." Small acts of kindness leave lasting impressions. He gestured to the chair beside her desk. "May I?" Emily nodded, scarcely believing that the CEO was sitting down for a chat with her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily Phillips." "I work in market analysis." "And do you enjoy your work, Emily Phillips?" The question caught her off guard. Not are you meeting deadlines, or how productive are you, but whether she enjoyed what she did. "I do," she answered honestly. "I like finding patterns in data, understanding what customers really want beneath what they say they want." Mr. Parker nodded, seeming genuinely interested. "That's a valuable skill, being able to see what others miss." "I don't know about that," Emily said, her habitual self-doubt surfacing. "I'm just doing my job." Sometimes just doing your job with attention and care is more valuable than grand gestures made for show. He glanced at her computer screen. "Is that the quarterly analysis everyone's rushing to complete?" Emily nodded. "Yes, sir. Would you mind sharing your insights?" "Not the official report. I'll see that tomorrow." "I'm interested in your perspective." For a moment, Emily hesitated, years of keeping her thoughts to herself making her cautious. But something in Mr. Parker's attentive gaze gave her courage. She began speaking, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence as she explained the trends she'd identified, the opportunities others had overlooked, and her concerns about the company's current direction. Mr. Parker listened intently, occasionally asking questions that revealed his deep understanding of the business. "You see things clearly, Emily," he said when she finished. "Yet I suspect few people here know the value of your insights." Emily looked down at her hands. "I'm not very good at speaking up. Being heard isn't always about speaking loudly. Sometimes it's about finding the right people to listen." He stood, straightening his jacket. "Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And thank you again for your kindness yesterday. Both have made quite an impression." After he left, Emily sat in stunned silence, replaying their conversation. For the first time in years, she felt truly valued for her mind, not just her ability to complete tasks without complaint. The next morning, Emily arrived to find an email from Mr. Parker's assistant, requesting her presence at the executive meeting where the quarterly reports would be presented. Her stomach twisted with anxiety, but beneath it was a flicker of excitement. In the meeting, Richard presented the department's findings, glossing over several key points Emily had highlighted in her report. She sat quietly, wrestling with her desire to speak up and her fear of drawing attention. When Richard finished, Mr. Parker turned to Emily. "Miss Phillips, I believe you had some additional insights about the emerging market segment?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. Emily felt her pulse racing, her mouth dry. But when she met Mr. Parker's encouraging gaze, she found her voice. "Yes, sir," she began, her voice barely audible. She took a deep breath and continued more strongly. "Our data shows a significant shift in consumer behavior that hasn't been accounted for in our current strategy." As she spoke, explaining her analysis with growing confidence, she noticed the surprised expressions of the executives and the barely concealed annoyance on Richard's face. But Mr. Parker nodded encouragingly, asking questions that allowed her to elaborate on her findings. After the meeting, several executives approached Emily, asking follow-up questions and expressing interest in her perspective. Richard walked past without acknowledging her, but for once, Emily didn't shrink away. Something was changing within her, a quiet recognition of her own worth. Over the next few weeks, Emily found herself included in more meetings and discussions. Mr. Parker often sought her input, valuing her analytical mind and attention to detail. With each opportunity to contribute, her confidence grew, though she remained fundamentally the same thoughtful, observant person. One evening, Mr. Parker invited her to his office. "I wanted to thank you properly," he said once she was seated. "Thank me? For what, sir?" "For showing kindness to an old man on a bus, with no expectation of reward or recognition." He smiled warmly. "You see, Emily, I make it a practice to experience the companies I lead from different perspectives. I rode the bus that day to observe our customers in their daily lives, to understand their needs beyond what surveys tell us." He leaned forward, his expression earnest. "What I didn't expect was to learn something about character." In a crowded bus where everyone was absorbed in their own concerns, you noticed someone in need and acted without hesitation. Emily felt her cheeks warm. "It was nothing, really. It wasn't nothing to me." Mr. Parker's voice was gentle but firm. In business, we often confuse confidence with competence, mistaking the loudest voice for the wisest one. But true leadership begins with seeing others clearly and valuing their well-being. He stood, walking to the window that overlooked the city. "I've been watching you these past weeks. You have exceptional analytical skills, yes, but more importantly, you have integrity and empathy, qualities this company needs in its leadership." Emily blinked in surprise. "Leadership? Me? I'm creating a new strategic development team focused on understanding our customers' evolving needs. I'd like you to lead it." The offer left Emily speechless. Just weeks ago, she'd been invisible, her voice unheard. Now, the CEO was offering her a leadership position based on qualities she'd never considered valuable in the corporate world. "I don't know what to say," she finally managed. "You don't need to answer now. Think about it." Mr. Parker returned to his desk. "But remember this, Emily. The world doesn't just need people who speak the loudest or push the hardest. It needs people who see clearly, who care deeply, and who have the courage to act on that care, even in small ways." As Emily left his office, she felt as though she was stepping into a new version of herself, not completely transformed, but awakened to possibilities she'd never allowed herself to imagine. The following morning, Emily arrived at work with a decision made. She would accept Mr. Parker's offer, not because it was a promotion, but because it was an opportunity to make a difference through her natural strengths. She walked into the office with new purpose, no longer trying to be invisible. As she approached her desk, she noticed several colleagues gathered around, including Sarah, who rushed over with excitement. "Emily, have you heard? There's an announcement coming about a new strategic team, and rumor has it you're involved." Before Emily could respond, the office fell quiet. She turned to see Mr. Parker walking toward her, that same kind smile on his face that she'd first seen on the bus. "Good morning, Emily," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I was hoping to catch you before the announcement. Have you had a chance to consider my offer?" Emily straightened her shoulders, meeting his gaze directly. "Yes, sir. I'd be honored to accept the position." Mr. Parker extended his hand, and as Emily shook it, she realized she'd come full circle. From the woman who gave up her seat on the bus to a stranger, to someone who had found her place and her voice. Sometimes, Mr. Parker said quietly, the greatest journeys begin with the smallest acts of kindness. "I'm looking forward to seeing where your journey takes you, Emily." As colleagues gathered around to congratulate her, Emily felt a new sense of belonging. She was still the same person, thoughtful, observant, kind, but now she understood that these qualities weren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to embrace. In that moment, she realized that true transformation doesn't always mean becoming someone else entirely. Sometimes it simply means recognizing the value in who you already are.